Hey, we're here today to talk about trading your addictions for creativity and empowerment. But what's really behind that, what we're really talking about is creative freedom. It's the opportunity to be free with our creativity. It's really a way of life on how I'm able to be free to create anything and everything with my life. Often starting first with an artistic project, a dream, a hope, a book, a poetry, painting, and then what happens is, and you'll see through the process, it then becomes how do I take that creative possibility, that creative person that I'm becoming, and actually apply that to my whole life. And the reason we're out here by the ocean and the beach is because your opportunity to tune into this is we're talking about creativity. The ocean is a symbol for that creativity. It's vast, it's big, it's always moving, and we're here standing on the beach talking about it. And as much as we talk about it, it's going to be awesome, and there's going to be ahas, and there's going to be clarity, but it's nothing like swimming in the ocean. But let's get started. We'll start talking. So we're here talking about creative freedom. All right. Okay, so with trading your addictions for creativity, every person on the planet has a certain amount of free time. What I've discovered is the clients that I've worked with and come to my presentations and work one-on-one is if they're single, they have anywhere from 3 to 9 hours of free time a day. If they're parents and they have kids, then they can have anywhere from 2 to 7 hours of free time a day. Obviously it varies how far you commute, how much you sleep at night, but those are the flexible amounts, okay? So then it comes down to how do we use our free time? So this is addictions, our everyday addictions. Netflix, Facebook, watching TV, watching sports, watching the news, video games, and this is our creativity. And the opportunity with this program is to trade the addictions for creativity. And it goes in 3 levels. So the first level, we're doing a lot of our addictions, and our creativity is just a little bit. And then as we move down, we learn how to de-energize these so it has less of a pull on us, and we energize these so we spend more time doing that. And then at the end, we're down here, and this is where I define being a creator, where we can do and choose much more of what we want, and this pull is a lot less. Does it mean we're never going to watch Netflix again? Does it mean we're not going to watch TV or watch sports or video games? No, but it's much more of a conscious choice, and it's a lot less of our time, and we spend more time here. Again, this is really, really important, and I really stress this with people that I work with. Not because any of this is bad. This is not bad. This is just better. This is what we're doing because we're lonely, angry, tired, frustrated, bored, and we haven't quite figured out how to do more of this. And this is where the real juice is in life. You can think of it this way. When I watch a show on Netflix, or even listen to an album, music, Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, whatever that is, that's secondhand creativity to me. And what do I mean by secondhand creativity? Secondhand creativity is, it's like standing here on the beach and looking at the ocean and talking about the ocean. Fantastic, we can be energized by looking at the ocean, we can be in awe of it, but man, once I jump into that ocean, it's a whole different game. It's a whole different experience level. So I can listen to music, I can watch shows, all really wonderful, and I do all of those things. But when I watch the shows and I listen to the music and I read a book after I've been creative during a day, then that's icing on top of the cake. Otherwise, secondhand creativity is like having a big bowl of frosting, right? Big bowl of icing, and just eating that. And at first, that seems like a good idea, and even it tastes really good. But at the end of it, it doesn't have the nutrition we want, it isn't really satisfying. And trust me, we've all eaten enough ice cream and we all eaten enough bowls of frosting to know that's not what we really want. We want something more, and that's why you may be watching this video. So let's go to the second diagram. There's 3 diagrams that I use and I go back and forth with trading your addictions for creativity and empowerment to really clearly explain what's going on. And I use it throughout the program. All right, so this is the second diagram that I use. What this is symbolic of, this is obviously a person, a profile. I hope you can see that, right? And so this is me and you, sort of. And this is our everyday addiction that we've done for a long time, right? Maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years, right? every time we think about it, this big ball of energy gets bigger. And every time we do it, it gets bigger. So when we have a free time, when we have a free moment, what happens is our first thought is, oh, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. It pulls us, right? And some of us have had that experience. I know I have, where all of a sudden I have free time and I actually feel like it's using me and I'm not using it. And that's part of the reason why I created this whole Trading Your Addictions for Creativity. Actually, this is the reason why I created it. I created it for me. I was at a point in my life where I had a wife, 2 young kids, and a full-time job, and I wanted to write a book. And I wasn't going to give up my wife, I wasn't going to give up my kids, and I wasn't going to give up the full-time job at the time. So I realized I had to give up all the superfluous things that I'm filling my time with. And so I created and became aware of all these things so that what I wanted to do was de-energize these things so they stop pulling me. And this is symbolic of where I was at and where many people that I work with are at with their creativity. What does that mean? So we've done some of our creativity. We've done some poetry, some writing, some painting. We know we like it. Every once in a while we think about it. We try and fit it in every once in a while. And so it pulls on us, right? But not to the degree of this. And that's why we're spending so much more free time here. So part of Trading Your Addictions for Creativity is how do we increase this, energize this, and then how do we de-energize this so it gets smaller? So then, all of a sudden, and this is where it was awesome, I worked with this one guy and I said to him, what if you could run to your creativity with the same amount of enthusiasm and energy that you run to your addictions right now? And all of a sudden he was like, he got it. He was like, wow, is that possible? And I'm like, yes, that is possible, because what happens is we shift from thinking we should do our creativity, we have to do our creativity, to doing our creativity is fun and enjoyment and it's an adventure. And it's about how to bring wonder back to the process, so then throughout this process this gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes more and more joyful. And so then this gets smaller, and as it gets smaller, we can still hear it, we still know it, but we just know that this has a lot more juice for us, right? I mean, once you take a kid to the ocean and they jump in the ocean, you bring them to the ocean next time and you tell them, no, you got to sit out on the sand. That's not going to work. Unless, here's the unless part, and we work with this also, if they come to the ocean and have a bad experience, right? Whatever, a wave knocks them down, somebody tells them about the things that live in the ocean, right? And they get a little freaked out or scared. Then they can come to the ocean and not want to go there. Those are called judgments against the ocean, right? So if someone goes to do their creativity and they have judgments about themselves, about their lack of ability, about the project that they're working on, that no one's going to want it, it's terrible, I'm not worthy, well then of course, why would we ever do something that brings up all of that yucky negative self-talk? It's much better just to go zone out to a couple shows, which will have a lot more fun and adventure. And so that brings us to the next diagram. All right. So here we go. Third diagram. When we come home at the end of the day, if we have a full-time job, this is where people sometimes, often, usually the people that I work with that come to me, maybe you check it out for yourself. You come home and you're at this level. Okay? This is the joy level. Joy, happiness, fun, adventure, right? Creativity. This is the level, right? So I come here and I'm feeling tired, angry, lonely, bored, frustrated. Okay? Come here like most Americans, right? Nothing really outrageous, right? We don't have to be on medication for depression or anything like that. It's just the normal, like, my life's not as great as it is, I don't have as much as I want, I'm not experiencing what I feel called to do, I'm not really following my heart's purpose, I'm not quite tapped into my soul, right? Come home feeling that. Then, couple choices. We all have choices with our free time. Many choices go like this. I don't feel so great, right? All I want to do is feel better. That's the basis of every everyday addiction. I just want to feel better. So people then do their everyday addiction, which is here, and they feel better, right? I watch a show, I eat a bowl of ice cream, I zone out to whatever I zone out. I play video games, I accomplish a mission, I take down some people. It's awesome. I feel great. However, my life really hasn't changed, right? And what happens is when I do this over time for a large amount of time, we're talking 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, or whatever that is, over 1 decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, then what happens is when I go to do this, then I actually drop down here. I actually drop down lower than I was before. Why? Because I just spent time, energy, and money often, and I'm actually not making my life better, I'm making my life worse, is that I'm using up my precious time and energy, and now it's becoming apparent, oh my gosh, I'm not going where I really want to go, and I'm caught in this loop, and once I get caught in this loop, I actually get lower and lower and lower. The problem with that is then, if I don't have a better alternative, then I just come back and do more of this, because at least it gives me a relief. Even if it's only for 5 minutes, only if it's for an hour, only for 3 hours, at least we get a relief, but then it drops me back down lower. So, with trading your addictions for creativity empowerment, what happens is, people start here, right? Then, they learn how to do a little bit of their creativity. But wait a second, why is this C lower than the addiction? How could that possibly be? That makes no sense, John. Why would being creative have less energy and more fun, or less fun, than Netflix, right? Or zoning out and connecting on Facebook? The reason being is, I like to describe it, there's a difference between playing Guitar Hero and playing guitar. If you know Guitar Hero, it's a video game. And in the video game, you get on there, and within 2 or 3 seconds, you're hitting a couple chords, and you got digital people screaming and clapping and yelling, and it's awesome, right? If you ever learned to play an instrument, or attempted to learn to play an instrument, it sucks at first. It is not fun, it is hard, right? Especially guitar, fingers hurt. It takes about 2 weeks before you can even play Happy Birthday, right? Nobody's yelling and screaming for me, nobody's having fun. So what people get caught up in sometimes is starting a project, or really getting back into a project, is not as much fun as watching Netflix or playing a video game. It just isn't. So there's a process that we go through that allow people to ease back into it, and they get to do their creativity a little bit at a time, until at some point they get more into the flow. And once they get back into the flow, then when they're not feeling, or just come home and whatever, then they go to do it, and they actually hit the spot of being in the flow and in the zone and having fun and being on an adventure and surprising themselves in their own creativity, right? Because it's bigger than them. And so they bring their personality and their painting or their writing, and all of a sudden they come up with an idea they didn't even know, and it's fun and it's joyful. Then when they compare it to their addiction, not to say again, they're never going to watch a show again or any of that, but when they go to, if they're going to think about, oh, let's just zone out, it actually has less juice. And then it becomes obvious. And I can explain this in a way that I think many people can understand. I have a friend who goes swimming every morning, right? She goes swimming every morning. Some people I know are maybe not in the ocean. That's true, not in the ocean, in a pool. But she goes swimming every morning, and if someone came up to her and said, don't go swimming tomorrow, you need a day off. You deserve it. You deserve a day off. You've been working hard, you do this all the time, you deserve a day off. And she'd be like, that's crazy, because I feel better when I do it. Yeah, sometimes when I wake up, I'm not totally jazzed, but I've been doing it so long that I know I'm gonna feel 1,000 times better after I swim than before. And so that's what we're talking about, getting to a state of moving up here and doing it so much that if I invited you over tonight and I said, hey, come on over tonight and we're gonna watch 8 hours of television and eat 6 bags of Doritos. Exactly. And why would you say no? You'd say no because we've all done that. We've all done enough to know that it's not that fulfilling, right? If I say it to my kids, they'll be like, okay, that sounds great, because they haven't had that experience enough to know that's not where the real juice of life is. So that's what we're talking about. Getting to the point, 2 points. One is de-energizing, right? The addiction, and bringing that awareness, and just bringing awareness does it. And at the same time, through the program, is energizing this so we're pulled into this. Now, what we didn't talk about and what the next step is and what's so beautiful, it used to be when I first started this was trading your addictions for creativity. And I specifically worked with writers and artists, only really, because I knew they had something they had identified that they weren't getting around to, right? They had the writing, they had the poetry, they had the painting, they had the sculpture, they had something that they loved, but they weren't doing. Like me, that's how I started, right? So I talked with them, but what happened was, as we worked together, this is what's so beautiful, and this is why I added the trading your addictions for creativity and empowerment. And this is what I alluded to at the beginning. What happens is when we trade, right, the 3 levels. The first level, very simple, de-energizing, energizing. Then as we move on, we start looking at just naturally. It's a natural process of once I start being more and more creative, then it just becomes, oh, how else can I create my life how I want it to be? So then they start looking at other areas in their life, and they start creating that to more of their preference. How do I want this? How do I want this relationship? How do I want this job? How do I want this? Not, again, from the place that what I'm currently doing is bad, but from an empowered place of, oh, I'm now experiencing, not thinking, not someone telling me, not reading a book, but I'm experiencing myself being empowered. I'm experiencing myself being creative. So now I just naturally create more of my life how I want it to create my life more the way I want it to be. And then what happens is, as they spend time in the world creating their life, we only have so many hours in the day, right? And so if I spend more time here, this obviously has to get less for 2 reasons. One, I'm enjoying this more, but also I'm going through this whole process of realizing this is not where the juice is. It just isn't. Not that it's bad. In fact, we go through a process where we actually thank our addictions. We thank our addictions. Why? Because they were there for us when we needed them. We were angry, lonely, tired, frustrated, and they were here for us to help us deal with our life. And now we've just gotten to the point of saying thank you, but we're moving on. We like to say, it's not you, it's me, right? The classic thing. You've been great. You're not changing. I'm the one changing, right? And what happens is then when they move here, again, just to recap, they redefine themselves as someone who gets frustrated, angry, lonely, bored, and just occupies their time to try and feel better, to someone who's actually a creator. And then yes, once in a while, like as far as I know, I don't know anyone. I've seen many professional writers speak. I don't know any writers who write for like 8 hours a day. They just don't. My take on the writers that I've seen is they're good for 2 to 3 hours, sometimes more. They got more time to fill. I would imagine they definitely go watch a show afterwards, or read a book, or experience other creativity, go to a museum. That's all secondhand creativity. But after they do their thing, after they have the juice, after they get filled up, then the world is so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. Let's get real. We've talked about creativity for a while. Just like the ocean, you can talk about the ocean, you can look at the ocean, it's a beautiful ocean, you can feel good about talking and looking at the ocean, but when you get in the ocean, that's when you really experience. That's a whole new level of refreshment. So let's just do that. Let's get real, you know? Are we ready to get our feet wet? That's what I'm talking about. So that's what it's all about. Trading your addictions for creativity is really getting in there and experiencing it. And then the question is, are we ready to dive in? Are you ready to dive in? You're invited. It's here. Maybe we should dive in today. What do you think? Yeah. Here we go. And what's really great, you don't know this, it's March. In March in California, the Pacific Ocean is refreshing. So it's very exciting to be here today, right now. And this all creativity is refreshing. Let's do this. excited. Let's have some fun.